What's going on, guys? Video Game Expert here, and in today's video we're going to learn how to fix stick drift on a PlayStation 4 controller. So if you've ever been playing a game and your character moves randomly without you touching the controller, this video is for you. As always, all tools used will be linked in the video's description. Today we'll need tweezers, screwdriver, small Phillips head bit, small flat head bit, our needle nose pliers, and a replacement spring for our analog stick. We will only be repairing the right stick on our controller as it's the only one that drifts, but if both of yours have drift, you can do the same technique on both sides. We'll start this repair off by grabbing our screwdriver and putting in our small Phillips head bit. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillips head screws that we need to remove. Once those are removed, we're going to focus on separating the two plastic pieces of the controller. So I like to just grab right here and pull away from each side of the controller until you can see it pop apart right here. With both sides of the plastic separated, we're going to focus right here in the middle and get these plastic clips off. Go ahead and grab your screwdriver and let's insert that small flathead bit. While gently pulling the plastic pieces apart, you're going to want to take your flathead bit, put it right in here and give it a small twist while you pull, and it should pop right open. Then we'll go ahead and do that same exact maneuver on the other side. With those plastic tabs now showing, you can go ahead and pull the casings apart from each other, separating the two halves of the controller. Make sure not to pull too hard as there is still a ribbon cable attached. To completely separate the controller, all we have to do is gently grab on this ribbon cable and pull it straight out, and then we'll just set this piece to the side. Our next step is to remove the battery, so I'll go ahead and grab my needle nose pliers and lightly grip on each side of this white plug while I wiggle it back and forth and pull away from the controller. That plug should come out without too much force, and now we can just pull that battery right off. If there's a little resistance, it's because there's some tape right here holding the battery on. We'll place that battery to the side and worry about getting out our last Phillips head screw. So go ahead and grab your screwdriver and pop back in that Phillips head bit. To keep things easy and organized, I'll just leave that Phillips head screw right in that plastic casing and set it to the side. Our last step in getting the controller completely apart, we need to remove this ribbon cable right here. So once again, I'll grab my needle nose pliers, grip it right here on the pull tab, wiggle it back and forth while pulling it outwards, and it should come right out without any problems. With that ribbon now detached, we're going to go ahead and grab the plastic casing and pull it straight up, and it should come right out. Go ahead and set this portion to the side. Our controller was having problems with the right analog stick, so we'll just go ahead and grip this and pull it straight up, and that cap will come right off. With that cap removed, we can now focus right here and here, as this is where our springs are going to be replaced. It's important to note that these next steps you need to be extremely careful with. If you break these plastic pieces, you won't be able to fix your controller without soldering a new analog stick. You'll want to grab your tweezers and gently insert them in between the plastic and the metal and pry the plastic away. When it begins to separate, I'll take my fingers and pry it the rest of the way down. Be very careful that you don't pull it too far and break the plastic. Once that red plastic grip in the middle becomes free, we can now grab our tweezers and pull out the spring. Take your time and be extremely gentle. If that red plastic is blocking you from pulling the spring out, just pull back very lightly on that green tab until you can get that spring all the way out. I've found that 90% of the time, drift is caused by these springs, so I order these replacement parts right here and just take the springs out and replace the old with the new. If you take and apply a small amount of pressure inward on both sides of these white tabs, that spring will pop right out. These springs can only be installed one way, so we'll go ahead and line up the correct way before we put it back in, just like this. In my opinion, this is the hardest part of the repair. What we're trying to do is get that red plastic piece in the middle of our spring, while getting the spring in place on the green plastic piece. Once that red plastic piece is in the middle of our spring, we're going to want to push downward on the white plastic of the spring, so that way it snaps in with the green housing. With that spring in place, we're going to gently push up on that green plastic, then we'll grab our needle nose pliers and we're going to clip it all the way back in. Just grab it on each side and squeeze it together until you hear it snap into place. Repeat that same step on the other side of the plastic to make sure the entire housing is back in place. Once that housing is back in place, go ahead and move that stick up and down to make sure that everything's moving correctly inside. Now all we have to do is use that exact same technique on the other spring. If you're enjoying the video or it helped you fix a stick drift of your own, make sure to like the video, comment down below any ideas you have for future videos. If you have any tips and tricks of your own, make sure to comment that down below as well, because I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Once you have that new spring installed, make sure you give that thumbstick a pull to the left and right to make sure that everything works like it should. If everything checks out, it's time to put the controller back together. Go ahead and grab that thumbstick, line it up, and then we'll push it straight down into place. Grab the front of your controller housing, and we're going to want to make sure that we feed this cable right through this hole here. It might be difficult, but just take your time, it'll go through. I like to grab my tweezers, line it up, and then drop it right into place. Once the cable is fed through, we're going to reattach it. Just grab it and press it straight down into the housing. That white line on the cable should let you know if it's correctly in place. Next, we'll grab that plastic battery housing. It should drop right into place. Then we'll grab our screwdriver with our Phillips head bit and screw in that Phillips head screw. Once we have that housing reinstalled, I just want to go ahead and give each button a quick press to make sure everything feels as it should. If everything feels good, we'll go ahead and grab our battery and reinstall it. Just make sure that the plug lines up with that on the inside of the controller here, and we'll push that straight down into place. Once firmly inserted, go ahead and wrap the wires right around this tooth and set the battery back into its holder. Let's go ahead and grab the back half of our controller. We're going to reattach this ribbon cable to right here, and to do that, we're just going to use that same technique as before, line it up with the plug and push it straight in. With that ribbon cable plug back in, you just want to line up the top of the controller right here, push it straight down, and everything should snap right back into place. With the controller shell back in place, I want to give all the buttons a good press to make sure everything feels right before we reinstall those Phillips head screws. All that's left to do before testing our controller is reinstall these 4 Phillips head screws, so we'll do that now. And now for the moment of truth, let's go ahead and turn our controller on and test out that right analog stick. I like to test out stick drift issues on first-person shooters because it's very easy to see if there's a problem. So right here I'm going to use Warzone. I want to really move that controller around to make sure that there is no drift anymore. And as you can see, everything looks to be in order. So I'll just go ahead and play with it a little bit just to make sure that nothing pops up. As you can see, it looks like we have successfully fixed our stick drift issues. With that being said, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. As always, thanks for watching, guys.